everyone, what's going on? It's 2 Minutes to Review. It's Matt.
And it's Zach.
If you haven't joined us for one of these before, longest album review in under 2 minutes wins. This episode brought to you by Lucky 13 Beard Co. If you hang on to the end of the episode, we've got a code for you to give you 10% off of your beard balms and oils, including our own Lemmy-inspired beard oil. And this time, a really solid band, and they got a brand new one coming out. It is the brand new one from Clutch.
That's right. You know, if you recall a few episodes of If You Have to Pick Three back, we had to determine which three bands we hope never retire. And one of them...
a few. That was like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that was... I don't want to make us feel that old. Hey, Matt, ready to feel old? But no, one of those bands that we decided, you know, oh, God, I hope they never retire is Clutch, the almighty Clutch. There are very few bands that, whether you're into metal, whether they're into rock, or even just blues, that kind of cross all spectrums of rock. And it's kind of hard to say, I'm not a huge Clutch fan. I mean, there's definitely some people who go, I don't know. They're not really my cup of tea. And I actually feel justified in going, well, what's wrong with you then? Because Clutch is just a fun rock band. I mean, at this point, they've also gathered almost like a cult following. And it's one of the few bands where it's like, no, I get it. They're awesome live. I mean, Matt, we've seen them at least once live together. I've seen them many, many times, more than I can count. They're just a fun, great band that, with a few exceptions, normally deliver awesome, solid new music. And here we are reviewing what actually is, fun fact, their shortest record to date, and also the longest wait in between albums, Sunrise on Slaughter Beach. It's been 4 years, nearly 4 years since we last heard a new album from Clutch. That is kind of crazy because, again, that's a band that just constantly churns out more and more new music. So they made us wait for it. We were eager to listen to it, and we can't wait. I don't know about you, Matt, but I'm excited to share our thoughts.
I am. I'm very anxious to put this out here.
Yeah,
because Clutch is one of those bands, like you said, that I've hardly ever heard anybody say bad things about Clutch. Whenever you also mention the name Clutch, it's like, if you say anything negative, it's like, are you crazy? They're one of the greatest bands that are out there. Like, okay, yeah. So yeah, I could see that.
I will say, I was anxious. I mean, I feel like, not to reveal too much from your review, I think I know why you're anxious, but the reason why I was anxious, at least getting into this, is because, you know, as I mentioned, with a few missteps, they deliver great albums. Their last album, A Book of Bad Decisions, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't thrilled with. I thought it was lacking something. So kind of nervous that, you know, oh boy, are we getting to the phase where we do kind of regret Clutch continuing on? But, you know, without further ado, don't want to reveal too much of our reviews. Matt, I'm gonna surprise you.
You want to go first?
Damn straight I do.
Okie dokie. I guess
that was my best Neil Fallon impersonation.
Which is terrible.
Yeah, it was, but
let's not lead anybody on to believe that was supposed to be good.
Break it down.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right. So if you like your Clutch music to be full throttle, in your face rock, this album is probably not for you. There's definitely some moments like Red Alert, Boss Metal Zone, and We Strive for Excellence where it is kind of the, just furious kind of full speed rock that you want from Clutch. But this album really is more of the stoner, slow jam friendly Clutch, but in a good way. And you get songs like Slaughter Beach and Three Golden Horns that really have the strong Sabbath stoner vibe. And then you even got songs like Mountain of Bone and Mercy Brown that blend that Sabbath influence and even enter into more 70s prog rock, maybe, dare I say, arena rock. I know, it's kind of crazy that the band that you want to see jam in full face in a small setting almost sounds like an arena 70s rock band here. And there's just a lot of fuzz to this album. I mean, Nosferatu Madra, it's just crunchy, gnarly, and satisfying. That's the key word here. It's still satisfying. Even when you don't get the full throttle, I keep using that word because that is a type of sound that Clutch captures. Here, it takes the back seat. And it's really more focused on just bringing out that just, I keep using the word just fuzzy stoner vibes. But in short, if Psychic Warfare and Earth Rocker, if that made you want to pound beers at a party, whether it was in a backyard or in the forest, this album, you're going to want to head to the basement of that party, smoke a few joints, and just enjoy the space ride that you're about to go on.
Okay, let's get one thing straight before anybody gets on you. I'm going to get on you. It's Nosferatu Madre.
Out of all the times I've ever actually mispronounced names, that was probably pretty damn close.
Yeah, but you know how people on the internet get, so I'm going to call you out first. Haha, hashtag first.
Or go ahead, comment on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Epic Footnote, or subscribe to our YouTube channel and comment there. Let me know, screwheads.
And the most important thing of your review, how many stars you giving it out of 5?
3.5.
I thought you were going to go lower than that.
Really? No.
It sounded like you were.
I really enjoyed this album. It is not their best. I think Psychic Warfare, this might be maybe a controversial thought, but I think that's one of the best records they've released. Earth Rocker really up high there too. Yeah, it's their later stuff. This is definitely a jammier album, but unlike some of their jammier stuff, it feels like there's focus here, and I think there's a sense of rejuvenation. And like I mentioned, Book of Bad Decisions, I felt it would just lack energy. It lacked just care. And here I felt like it was a band that kind of came back, refocused, rejuvenated. So it was nice to hear a Clutch try. And they did well. I enjoy this album. I just don't necessarily see me. I'll put it like this. I'd rather listen to, as I described how past albums are like you pound beers and have a full-blown rager at a backyard party. With this one, you're smoking pot in the basement of said party. I would prefer to go to the beer chugging party as opposed to the stoner, let's get our heads high as possible basement party.
Okay.
That's the way I put it. Not that party's not fun. And I'm neither confirming or denying. I've been to some of those parties during my youth, but that's where I'm at in my time in life right now, is I'd rather be outdoors partying than in a basement.
Okay.
That's the way I look at it. But Matt, what say you?
I haven't given my review yet, so you don't know.
3, 2, 1, go.
So if you were worried about Clutch still continuing to be a solid band, there's nothing to worry about. I mean, Clutch is still doing Clutch things on here. Now, while Zach is saying that this is a stoner-ish album, I can kind of see where he's coming from. However, I feel that this is just one of those albums. It's really hard to describe, but it really just gets into you. It's one of those albums that you're going to sit here and you're just going to find yourself tapping your foot without even realizing that you're doing it. There's maybe a misstep or two here on the album. I'm not going to deny that. However, the overall experience of this album is one that I haven't enjoyed a Clutch album this much in a while. So I really am digging what they're doing here, and songs that kind of really just invigorate you and just kind of get you, like I said, your foot tapping and just feeling good on this album. We've strived for excellence. Skeletons on Mars. I mean, I found myself even like foot tapping through the trippy instrumental breakdown that they have later on in the song. And one of the songs that they really kind of introduced early on, Red Alert, Boss Metal Zone, I was judging Clutch really, really hard, because if you were ever a guitarist, if you ever picked up a guitar, you looked at the Boss Metal Zone guitar pedal and everybody probably made fun of you for it because it's one of the worst sounding guitar pedals that have ever been out there, but that's neither here nor there. But in listening to the song and listening to the lyrics, really dug the sci-fi vibes that were on it. And they even made reference to Doctor Who on there, which is a really cool node in my opinion. So I love that part of it. And then you get into songs like Jackhammer, Our Names, and Mercy Brown, which really do bring a more doomy, bluesy vibe to the album. I mean, they're great songs to break up the album and kind of just get into like this deeper, darker groove without really sacrificing quality on the album. And finally, Nosferatu Madre. I mean, it gets into such a great groove, and I love that they sprinkled in a little bit of Wolfmother's Joker and the Thief on the riff in there. So overall, this is for me just a really solid album from Clutch.
Time locked in. Two things. First, I loved my Boss metal pedal.
I
Loved it.
I never liked that thing.
I'm not saying it's great, but I love
it honks so hard.
It's the boyfriend you know is bad for you. It's the bad boy that you just can't help, but love. But anyway, and yeah, I think I actually was gonna say the Jackhammer, the guitar solo in there, really tasty riff.
It's
like
such
really
a good
tasty
song.
licks.
I mean, you mentioned Doomy and Bluesy, or you mentioned Stoner. Excuse me, I said Doomy and Bluesy.
I think that's fair to say too.
I don't so much get the Stoner vibes on here. Like, as much as I kind of see where you're going, I just don't get that.
So maybe
for me,
I would maybe then say doomier is a better word than stonery. Okay. I still stand by the whole I can see people getting stoned off their asses to this album. And this is where I was making a lot of the Sabbath comparisons. It's the doomier part.
Yes,
you're right.
Then that, yes.
Because they've definitely done more stoner rock friendly songs in the past. There was a sense, there was something about there was just something darker about some of the lyrics here.
Yes.
That reminded me more of of classic Sabbath. Like so many jam bands or stoner bands try to sound like Black Sabbath. Here, they actually did a good job capturing what they really were trying to do. It wasn't do riffs for the sake of riffs. Like there was like an eeriness to it that I feel like you don't hear from Clutch that often. And it was really enjoyable.
Yeah, especially on the two that I mentioned, Jackhammer Names and Mercy Brown. I honestly think that they're two of the standouts on this album. They're just so good with what they try and accomplish, and they do it really well. And like you said, it's not being too much like Sabbath. It is just capturing the essence of something inspired by Sabbath. So they didn't do it just to do it. And just to go back to the Stoner comment a little bit earlier, if I picture Clutch, the two songs that I picture when I hear Stoner, I picture Space Grass for obvious reasons, and also Escape from the Prison Planet. So those are kind of where I think of Clutch going. That is a Stoner moment. So because of that, I don't see that here.
Well, I think it's also because I think sometimes you expect, when you think of jam bands, you expect a little bit more funkiness or just groovy here. Not that this album doesn't have grooves, but it's almost like they took the gnarliness of their more fast-paced songs and applied it to the slow tempo songs.
It's Clutch being Clutch in a almost experimental way for them.
I think that's a good way to describe it too, because I also at some moments I'm like, whoa, I feel like this is not, and I kind of mentioned this in my review, this is not the band you are blown away by in the basement. Like it's almost like more larger than life sounding Clutch than normal.
Yeah.
Like, were they trying to make an arena rock album with this?
See, I don't, and I hate to put it this way because I feel like I've referenced this a lot, but I'm going to say it anyway. You can almost take those two songs and the ending scene to the video game Red Dead Redemption 2.
You love that game.
I do.
You love that game.
But you know what though? If you put these two songs on that ending scene where he's riding back to what's going to be his eventual doom, the D'Angelo song that's in there could very easily be replaced by these two songs, and it would give you the same vibes. It is they're so creepy, but they're so good in this at the same time.
You know what? I'm actually kind of glad you didn't reference that game again, because I feel like in the past there is, of course, definitely more bluesy vibe. I got less of the westerny kind of a showdown's about to happen kind of songs that you typically get from slow tempo Clutch. If some past albums are more of what's Clutch sound like if they soundtracked a Western, I almost feel like this is what Clutch would sound like if they soundtracked a sci-fi movie.
I mean, it could work that way too. It's just that's where my frame of reference goes.
No, yeah, but my point being is that like normally you don't like, at least I don't know or normally associate Clutch with sci-fi, and like this is this could be their proggiest work to date.
Yeah, it could be. We talked about this with one of our last reviews with Mars Volta, that is a very what could be proggy album, and it's very short because it focuses on like light rock and pop, and it still shows you that you can be very experimental in the way that you weave different ideas in and out of songs. And Clutch, I think, on this album could very well just fall into that too.
I would say, though, whereas Mars Volta might be on the pop side, this is not a pop album.
Not even close. Not even close.
This is maybe even going back to the word doom. This is doom prog at its best.
Yeah, that'll work.
Mind you, even though I give it a 3.5 star, because I partially give it that rating because I am not confident I would be going back to this record all so often, as opposed to like I still blast Psychic Warfare, but it's a damn freaking good album. Which leads me to asking you this question, Matt. Out of 5 stars, what would you give it?
I think I'm going to give it a 4.
No, okay.
I'm not just throwing 4-star reviews out there for the hell of it lately. It's just, it honestly feels like a 4-star album. It doesn't skimp on anything. It introduces new ideas, and it does it in a way that is true and authentic to the band.
As dark as it is, it's still a fun record. It's still fun, which only a band like Clutch could do. Only a band like Clutch could do something that's still so doomy and dark and still make it fun and enjoyable to listen to. Which is why I still use the word party even when I describe this album compared to other ones, because it's just a different recreational activity you choose to do while listening to this album.
It's still a social event.
It's still social, and that's the key.
Anything is a social event now.
Well, it's true too, but that's true too. But like, I'm not saying like you'd still be surrounded by people in said basement partaking in smoking of natural herb, but social is key word. But you know what, Matt? All of this talk about weed, doom, and prog and space mean nothing. What really matters are the times. So, Matt, what is my score?
Well, I guess you finally learned how to play the game, because you scored 1 minute and 49 seconds.
Well, Matt, apparently you learned how to stop caring, because you came in at 2 minutes and 14 seconds.
That's okay. It's Clutch. You have to say a little bit more about Clutch.
Oh,
you can't contain them in 2 minutes.
Look at you coming up with excuses.
I think everybody would agree with me.
Well, do you? Do you all agree with Matt? Do you agree with Zach? Do you love this album? Do you think it fits in perfectly with Clutch's amazing discography? Or do you think it's missing something? Let us know on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Epic Footnote. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel to hear more reviews like this, maybe some cool videos too. And once again, thank you to Lucky 13 Beard Co.
As we promised at the top of the episode, log on to lucky13.com. Put anything in your cart, including our Lemmy-inspired beard oil. It smells incredible. Leather, bourbon, tobacco, and cola. You're not going to go wrong with this one. Use the code EFP10 at checkout. That's EFP10 at checkout. 10% off of your entire order. Lucky13, the number, beardco.com.
And I'm also going to make a huge, bold statement that Neil Fallon, who has the most glorious beard in metal, very few can even come close to his beard. I would bet that he would love the Lemmy-inspired beard oil that we created with Lucky 13. In fact, Ed, I know you're listening. If we can get Neil to respond, I challenge you, Ed, to send Neil a bottle of the Lemmy beard oil. Neil, if you're listening, hit us up. On me, you get a bottle of the Lemmy beard oil. I think you're going to love it. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you join us for another episode real soon.
See ya.